Hello, Trinity family. This is Pastor Doer, and this is your Theology in Three. Today, I'd like to tell you about something that I recently learned. I'm currently taking a class on Egypt, ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia for my master's degree. And as I'm reading through it, there's things that we tend to miss as we read it as 21st century Americans that Egyptologists don't miss and they pick up. So one of the things I'd like to talk to you about today is Moses' stick. So in the text, Moses walks around with a stick. It's a shepherd's staff, probably something that looks very similar to this. This is a professional shepherd's staff for professional shepherding in competitions today. When I graduated the seminary, my godmother gave this to me because the word pastor means shepherd. And so we're looking at this idea of being an under shepherd for the great shepherd. Now, I bring this up because I want to talk about Moses' stick. So let's read in read in Exodus chapter 7. We're going to look at one of the places Moses' staff is important. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, prove yourselves by working a miracle, then you shall say to Aaron, take your staff and cast it down before Pharaoh, that it may become a serpent. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron cast down his staff before Pharaoh and his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh summoned the wise men and the sorcerers and the magicians of Egypt. They did the same by their secret arts. For each man cast down his staff, and they became serpents. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Still, Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he would not listen to them as the Lord had said. So in this story, it's Aaron's staff, but in other places you will see it's Moses' staff. They're shepherd staffs. That's what they're holding. It's a walking stick. The hooked end can be used to pull a sheep out of a hole or hook onto something. It can be a very useful feature on a stick. And I bring this up because one of the things that tends to be missed as you're reading this story is the Egyptological importance of it. So if you look at a picture of Tutankhamun's burial tomb, you see that he's got his arms crossed, and in one hand he has a flail, and in the other hand he has a shepherd's staff. Now, this is important because these were symbols of royalty in Egypt. The pharaoh had these symbols of his authority. He'd wear the false beard. He would wear that funny hat called the uraeus. He would have the two scepters, the flail and the shepherd's staff. Now, it wasn't a very useful shepherd's staff. If you look at the picture of Tutankhamun's tomb, he has it's really short because it's a symbol. But this is important because we're looking at the story of the Exodus. What we see is that Moses is being set up as the opposite of Pharaoh. Moses speaks on behalf of Yahweh, and Pharaoh speaks on behalf of the Egyptian pantheon. And so when you have this clash between Moses and between Pharaoh, between one shepherd and the other, whose God is the real God, whose God is the true God, you see that, well, it's Moses' God. Aaron throws down his staff, it turned into a snake. The magicians throw down their staffs, they turn into snakes. But Aaron's staff snake thing eats the others. Now this is important because we're going to see throughout the rest of Moses' story, his stick is featured prominently. Over and over again, it's being used, and it almost looks to me like it's taking on magic properties. But the more I think about the way that God works, I don't think that's the case. That God is demonstrating that he is the good shepherd of his people, and that he has tasked Moses with the task of leading the people out of Israel. When Moses takes things into his own hands at the waters of Meribah, he strikes the rock with his stick. And there we see him using it like a magic stick, and it's really not. And then Moses is cursed. He no longer is allowed into the land of Israel because Moses' stick only has power as long as God gives it power. That his symbol of shepherding, his symbol of rulership, his symbol of leading the people of Israel is really just given to him by God, and it's not his own power. And so we look at this thing, and it's supposed to challenge Pharaoh, but it also gets Moses in trouble later. And so I think something as simple as a stick can be, overlooked by us in our 21st century modern context, because do we use these ever? No, we don't. And so it can be overlooked. So I think it's very interesting, very helpful, some of the little tidbits that you can get when you study the history and archaeology of the ancient world. Pray that you have a blessed rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you soon.